All right, let's talk education now. We're going to start with the opt-out movement. Supporters say, hey, 100,000 kids skipping standardized tests yesterday. Tests putting too much pressure on the kids. It's a good sign, and it causes unfair teachers' evaluations. Not surprisingly, though, not everyone shares that opinion. The Education Department says to the Journal News, test refusal is a mistake because it eliminates important information about how our kids are doing. Put you back in the council, and a constituent calls you up and says, Madam Speaker here, I don't like the little Johnny stressed out. I want to keep him home. What would you have told him?
Well, we heard this issue a lot in the council, and we heard it particularly in the city because in the city, there was this additional thing happening. Maybe it happens in other parts of the state too, I'm not sure, called field testing. Yeah. Where you would give kids extra tests that didn't even count towards anything, and they were taking these tests so they could write the questions for next year's test. So I actually worked with a lot of parents and some of my other colleagues, particularly Council Mark Wetburn from Queens, about getting people to opt out of the field tests. Because there's no academic use for those at all. So I understand that. I heard it and worked with some parents around field testing. I've heard that concern, that worry really is what it is about kind of where their children are at, but more importantly, what is the time being spent on in the classroom. And look, the numbers were staggeringly huge. I think probably bigger than even those who were organizing the opt-out movement would ever have guessed. So that has to, attention has to be paid to that. There's no question.
We had the argument, Andrew, you can add on to this, which was, okay, I get it, but this didn't even come out of nowhere. Remember the whole social promotion and everything else? And it's a test. Somebody's going to pay a price if the results are skewed, like the schools and the educators and everything else. And what about the messaging? They're going to have to take regents anyway. You're going to have to take these tests at some point in your life. That fair or unfair, it's part of life, unfortunately. And the messaging to the kids, if it gets too tough, just stay home. I mean...
Well, I think I hope what we need to do is get to a balance, right? Because, and I don't think most of those parents who opted out are telling kids, you don't have to take tests or, we're going to give you the easy way out. I think it's a more complicated concern than that with most of the parents anyway. And I think, we need to the degree we can try to separate the question of over standardized testing, separate that question from standards, right? Because having standards that we want children to be able to get to read, not just at grade, but above grade.
But you need to measure to figure out where they're at, though,
But you have to figure out how you do that and then leave enough time in the classroom to teach.
But if the whole question was, that so much of the classroom time is oriented about teaching towards the test, which I think a lot of people find objectionable, the door's already closed on that. You've already taught to the test. If you're keeping the kids out of the test itself, you're not really solving that problem. You're just registering a complaint.
That's true, but maybe that's what we'd have to ask the folks who opted out. You know what I mean? Whether maybe that was what they felt they needed to do at this moment in time.
Madam Speaker, we'll come back to education in just 1 second, but we'd be remiss if we didn't ask this question. Just between the four of us here.
And everybody in Westchester.
Just between the four of us here. You're teaching at Harvard. You're working for the governor. You got that $1 million smile going on. What are you running for next? Are you going to run for mayor again?
I'm at this moment in time, honest to goodness, just between the four of us and this county, Westchester, I'm not running for anything. But I've said, since losing the mayor's race, that the greatest honor I've ever had professionally was being an elected official. And I loved it. I loved every minute. I had lunch recently with Judith Kaye, the former chief judge, and I said, boy, it must have been hard when you had to retire. She said, if I could have been chief judge for 5 more minutes, I would have done it. And I loved being council member. I loved being health committee chair. I loved being speaker. So if there is an opportunity to serve...
Oh, there was times you must have wanted to choke Charlie Barron. Come on.
Even then, I loved it. Even then, I loved it, and he loved it too. But, look, if there's an opportunity to serve again in elected office, I will absolutely look at it. And if there's not, I want to keep working on the issues I care about one way or the other.
Talk of de Blasio being a one-term mayor.
Look, I don't know what races they're going to be in the future, but right now I want to keep serving kids and New York. We're working a lot, and we really want to get it done on a statewide law around rape and sexual assault on college campuses. I don't think this mayor is going to be a one-term mayor. I really don't. But I also do hope someday I have the opportunity to serve again. But if not, I'm going to continue to be a pushy broad across the city and across the state for the communities I care about. and the communities that need more done to help them and support them by the government of the city and state of New York. And unfortunately, that list is too long. Women, LGBT, immigrants.
You got the
list
bumper
goes on
sticker
and on.
slogan ready to go.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Nice
It's
try
got to
on
be a
that
big
one.
car, though.
By the way, I'm writing something profane. Dominic hijacked that segment, but that's fine. Nothing new there. All right, when we come back, more with Christine Quinn, including what she's going to do next. And it's not running for an office. We'll be right back.